you physically. It's not within your reach, that somehow psychologically there's more risk. But yet, when I look inside the banks and look at what's going on with currencies, see, I see more risk because governments can come in, make decrees, leaders of different governments can get together, make secret deals, and say, we're ending this, it's over. And the rest of us are sitting here like sitting ducks. So, in your system that you created, which I think is elegant, but I still think is like a well-kept secret, even though, you have huge reserves now, when you're storing gold and transacting business using gold money, which involves gold, silver, and platinum, it's stored in a vault. But what happens with that vault? Take the listeners into what happens and how is it really protected? Because I bet you money in the mind of 90% of the public that this feels foreign and they're not used to having anything they own separated from them.
Yeah, there are a number of points there. First of all, let me start from a big picture point of view. There's a difference between physical gold and paper gold. I talk to people all over the world, and they say, well, they own gold. And then when I ask them about it, they really own paper gold. They don't own physical gold. They'll own an ETF, they'll own a bank certificate, or they'll have a pool account or something like that. In other words, they own exposure to the gold price. They don't, and that exposure to the gold price comes with counterparty risk. In other words, they're dependent upon someone's promise to make good if the gold price rises and pay them some national currency in return, or to deliver physical metals to them if they have that type of a contract. But basically, paper gold has counterparty risk. Physical gold does not. Paper gold is a financial asset. Physical gold is a tangible asset. There's a fundamental difference between those, because when you own physical gold, you do not have counterparty risk. You're not dependent on some bank's or some government's balance sheet. Now, when you buy physical gold, there are basically two ways to do it. You either buy it and you store it yourself, or you buy it and you have someone store it for you, which is what we do in GoldMoney. Now, both of these alternatives have advantages and disadvantages. When you buy it and store it yourself, you have it in hand, but how much gold are you going to store in your basement or buried in the backyard? And if you're talking about silver, which is presently about 60 times the volume for the same amount of dollars as gold, where are you going to put all of that silver? And are you going to run the risk of the U.S. government confiscating, gold again, like they did from 1933 until 1974, by having it buried in your backyard or having it in your house? Now, the other alternative is to have someone store it for you. But when you use this alternative, you need the assurances of integrity that the gold and silver are absolutely safe. And what we do in GoldMoney is we have independent third-party verification by two different groups of auditors every other month going in and confirming that all of the gold is there, all of the silver is there, and platinum too, and that it's equal to the quantity of precious metals that are owned by our customers. So our customers have the assurances of integrity that the gold and silver are there. So the difference between owning physical gold and storing it yourself or having someone store it for you depends upon performance risk. We talked about counterparty risk when you had paper gold. Physical gold has a type of performance risk. First of all, if you store it yourself, the stuff that you're buying, you have to be absolutely certain that it really is gold and not gold-plated lead or gold-plated tungsten or counterfeit coins that look like real gold but really aren't real gold. So you always have to be dealing with someone who's completely trustworthy.
What makes somebody trustworthy then?
Well, there are a number of different things. Basically, the reputation, the time in business, but more importantly, the control mechanisms that they use. Now, what we do in GoldMoney is we have various governance procedures and the auditing and things of this nature. And the audit reports, which are these independent third-party verifications, they're available to our customers upon request. So because it's economical and convenient and also, importantly, very safe, we've grown very rapidly, and we're now storing over $900 billion of gold and silver that's owned by our customers.
So my question is, with this advanced governance model that is transparent, with the fall of AIG and the behavior of a company like AIG as an insurance company, and we know that GoldMoney is insured, that everything in these vaults is insured. What happens if Lloyd's of London goes belly up? then what happens to the insurance policy? And I bring this up to deal with practical realities that people have in their heads who want to buy gold money, but because other insurance companies have acted improperly and cooked their books or had bad assets, toxic assets, or credit default swaps, or other shenanigans going on with derivatives, how do you keep the insurance company that's connected with your company clean? Or how do you make sure that they're acting properly?
Well, first of all, the insurance only comes into play if the gold is stolen, if there's some kind of theft of the gold or silver or the platinum. And all of the metal is contained in highly specialized bullion vaults that are very, very secure, and the likelihood of a theft from a bullion vault is very, very low. So you first have to have the theft from the bullion vault, and then at the same time have the insurance company go under, and it's just a very, very unlikely occurrence to have both of those things happen at the same time. We do use Lloyd's of London to underwrite the insurance, and we always have the insurance with first-class insurance companies.
It's an important question. It's also, in gold money, how do you assure the people that are taking their money and buying gold and silver and platinum that a government that decides they don't like you can't come in and confiscate the money in the bullion vaults?
Yeah, this has been something that's been on our mind even before we formed the company. I am American, but we formed GoldMoney in Europe. GoldMoney is a European company, European-based and European-operated. And the reason is that the U.S. confiscated gold once before, and gold has never been confiscated in Europe. What we've also done is we're operating in the British Channel Islands, the island of Jersey, which basically relies on traditional Anglo-Saxon common law, the basic principles of which are property rights. So the island of Jersey has become a major financial center in the world. There's over $1 trillion of assets managed there because of the reliance on traditional Anglo-Saxon common law. And then what we do is we store the gold for our customers, the gold that our customers own, in vaults either in London or in Zurich, and the customer can choose where he wants to place his gold. And in the new year, we hope to have an additional vault in Hong Kong, and over time we're going to have additional vaults around the world. So customers can choose to place their gold in different jurisdictions, different countries where they may feel comfortable, or perhaps diversify their gold and silver holdings among several different countries, because you don't want to take risks with your gold and silver. It's the bedrock asset in your portfolio. So by diversifying it geographically, you're mitigating the risk to help protect your metal that way too.
I usually tell people, think of gold as a huge savings account, a wealth building account, and don't think of your currency anymore as wealth building. Am I correct when I tell them that?
You're absolutely right, and this is basically what I've been saying all decade long. First of all, savings are always a good thing. It's always a good thing to save money, but it's a particularly good thing when you're saving sound money. I mean, look at it this way. 8 years in a row, gold is up against the U.S. dollar at an average annual return of 16.3% on average per annum. This year, it's going to be the 9th year in a row that gold is up against the U.S. dollar, and at the moment, we're up about 30% this year. If you put $100 in a savings account or in a bank account, at the end of the year, you're going to get $102, but your purchasing power is only going to be like $92 or $93. We have negative real interest rates. By putting money in a bank, you're actually losing purchasing power, and what you really should be doing is measuring one's purchasing power, not how many dollars you have or how many euros you have, but how much purchasing power you have.
And how do people do that?
Well, you have to calculate the price of goods and services in terms of gold. And that's why I'm very fond of using these examples of saying that an ounce of gold today still buys the same amount of crude oil it did 50 years ago. So despite the fact that gold is up, 16% for 8 years in a row and 30% against the dollar this year, an ounce of gold still basically buys the same amount of crude oil. Here's another example. I remember as a kid in the 1950s growing up in the States, my parents could fill the family car with $2 silver, and that would buy enough gasoline to fill the family car. Well, if you take $2 silver today and you take it at the market value, which is approximately $36,